Logic, the rapper often celebrated for his technical ability and heartfelt lyricism, has gradually become a meme in the hip-hop world, not for his achievements, but for his relentless corniness. His constant reminders about being biracial, his try-hard lyricism, his desperate need for validation, and his lack of a defined style have made him one of the most polarizing figures in music. And as the leaks about his songwriting habits emerge, his credibility takes another hit. Let's dig deep into the psychology and sociology of Logic's decline, and why he's earned the dubious honor of being the worst white rapper. Logic's obsession with reminding everyone that he's biracial isn't just repetitive. It's a glaring sign of insecurity. Every few songs, he shoehorns in a line about being half black, half white, even when it has no relevance to the track. While addressing identity struggles is valid, his approach feels more like a marketing gimmick than genuine self-expression. The overemphasis on his racial background seems like a crutch, as though he's afraid that without it, he'd have nothing else to differentiate himself from other artists. This constant repetition feeds into the psychological concept of self-validation. Logic seems to be performing his identity for an audience, seeking approval for something he shouldn't have to explain. In doing so, he alienates listeners who see through the act, making his identity feel more like a sales pitch than an authentic narrative. By hammering home the "I'm biracial" point ad nauseum, Logic not only trivializes his own experience, but also detracts from the deeper themes he claims to represent. What's worse, Logic's desperate need to highlight his racial background contrasts sharply with his habit of imitating other artists. Instead of carving out a unique voice, he borrows heavily from his contemporaries, mimicking Kendrick Lamar's introspection, J. Cole's storytelling, and Drake's melodic hooks. The result is a patchwork of styles that never quite feels cohesive or authentic. It's as if Logic believes that by stitching together pieces of other artists, he can create the illusion of originality. But listeners aren't fooled. In hip-hop, where authenticity is king, this lack of a distinct style makes him feel like a hollow figure, a rapper with technical skill but no soul. This brings us to the latest revelation about Logic's creative process. Recent leaks from his label mates allege that Logic has been using AI tools, specifically OpenAI's ChatGPT, to generate lyrics for his songs. While technology in music isn't inherently bad, the problem lies in what this says about Logic as an artist. If true, these allegations paint a picture of someone so creatively bankrupt that he's outsourcing the very heart of his craft, his words, to a machine. It's a damning blow to his credibility and reinforces the perception that Logic is more concerned with output than artistry. The use of AI to write lyrics aligns with his broader pattern of relying on shortcuts to compensate for a lack of originality. AI-generated lyrics may sound polished, but they lack the personal depth and emotional weight that come from lived experience. This revelation not only undermines his past work, but also calls into question his future projects. If Logic himself can't connect with his own lyrics, how can he expect his audience to? Logic's corny persona is further amplified by his insistence on being the conscious rapper who speaks to the struggles of everyday life. But instead of delivering profound insights, his lyrics often come across as preachy and surface level. Tracks like 1-800-273-8255 are well-intentioned, but feel more like a PSA than a genuine artistic expression. The heavy-handedness of his messaging alienates listeners who crave subtlety and nuance, making his music feel more like a lecture than an experience. From a psychological perspective, this can be explained by the concept of overcompensation. Logic seems so desperate to prove his worth as a real artist that he overextends himself, packing his songs with messages and themes that lack authenticity. This tendency to overcompensate is a hallmark of artists who feel insecure about their place in their genre. And for Logic, it manifests as a need to constantly justify his identity and relevance. Adding to the problem is Logic's fan base, which skews heavily toward suburban, non-black listeners. His music often feels tailored to this demographic, offering a sanitized version of hip-hop that's safe, predictable, and easy to digest. While there's nothing wrong with appealing to a specific audience, Logic's approach sacrifices the rawness and cultural depth that define the genre. In trying to cater to everyone, he ends up resonating with no one. The psychology of cognitive dissonance also plays a role in why Logic's corny persona grates on so many people. His lyrics often portray him as a misunderstood genius, a man of the people, and a pioneer in the rap game. But his actions and music tell a different story. Fans are left feeling a disconnect between the logic he presents and the logic they hear, leading to frustration and disillusionment. And then there's his technical ability, a double-edged sword. Logic is undeniably skilled at rapping, with a rapid-fire delivery and complex rhyme schemes. But technical skill without emotional resonance is like a perfectly built car with no engine. His songs feel hollow, prioritizing form over substance. This focus on technicality over connection only widens the gap between him and his audience, who are left wondering what they're supposed to feel. Logic's decline isn't just about his music, it's about his persona. His relentless need for validation, his overuse of AI, and his lack of a unique style have turned him into a caricature of himself. While other artists evolve and take risks, Logic seems content to recycle the same themes, styles, and tropes, hoping that technical proficiency will mask his creative stagnation. In conclusion, Logic's corny persona and artistic decline are rooted in his insecurity, lack of originality, and reliance on external validation. His constant reminders about being biracial, his imitation of other artists, and the allegations of AI-generated lyrics paint a picture of an artist who has lost touch with his craft. While he has the technical skills to reclaim his place in hip-hop, his refusal to confront these issues ensures that he remains stuck in the limbo of mediocrity. And until he addresses these shortcomings, Logic will continue to be a punchline in the very genre he once hoped to define.